Mommy's with the maggots now.
Welcome once again, my fellow manipulators of digital fate. I'm Richie, this is Capricorn. Today's deck is one that I've been trying to make work for so long, put it on the back burner, completely forgot about it, and then my mod Finn was trying to get me to brew something different, and then it kind of came full circle and made me realize I could finally make this deck happen, and I was so excited. This deck is called Rise and Fall, because we're rising and falling. What does that mean? You're going to have to just check out the deck to see. But take my word for it, this thing is absolutely insane. We finally made Likeness Looter work. We come out of nowhere for 20 damage flying all over the place. And then even if they can deal with our flying, we could just do 20 damage to the face, direct damage out of nowhere as well. And we have so many different recursive ways to just keep bringing stuff back. So even if they have removal up the wazoo, we just keep bringing it back, just keep bringing it back, just keep bringing it back until they're out of removal, and then we still smash in for 20 flying or still throw 20 damage at their face. It's insane. I'm kind of in love with this deck. We're going to break the whole thing down. Before we do, please like the video. It helps me get the video out to so many more people, helps the channel grow, and I would appreciate it so much. Subscribe if you're new so you never miss an upload. Tons of crazy decks on the way, and spoiler season for Aether Drift is right around the corner. We've only got a couple weeks, and things are gonna really kick into high gear, so I'm excited about that. But be sure to catch me live Monday through Friday over on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/quarantinecapricorn. If I'm alive and I'm breathing, I'm there and I'm streaming. Also, did you notice that my merch store went live? Did you guys notice that? We have a merch store now, and I think it's pretty hilarious, so maybe check that out. But for now, let's break down the deck. We finally did it. I finally cracked the code and found the perfect deck for Likeness Looter. I've been trying to figure out a deck like this forever since Wilds of Eldraine came out and we first saw Likeness Looter, and so many people underestimate this card, and it is absolutely nuts in this deck. So we're running 4 copies, 2 mana for a 1/1 flyer. We can draw a card and discard a card by tapping it, which means we can help to dig for things we need and also fill up our graveyard, which this deck absolutely wants to do. But the main reason we're running it is we can pay X mana and turn Likeness Looter into a copy of any creature that's in the graveyard. So for just 2 mana, we can turn Likeness Looter into a flying copy of Souls of the Lost, which is a 2 mana spirit that has star power and star +1 toughness. Its power and toughness is equal to the number of permanent cards in your graveyard, with the toughness getting an additional +1 in addition to that. But as an additional cost to cast this spell, you have to discard a card or sacrifice a permanent. Sometimes you want to discard a card anyway because you want to fill up the graveyard in this deck, make your Souls of the Lost that much bigger, and also help to turn on a bunch of the other synergies in this deck as well. But you don't even have to have card disadvantage and worrying about discarding anything or anything like that if you just become a copy of it with Likeness Looter. So once Souls of the Lost is in the graveyard at any point in time, your Likeness Looter becomes a giant flyer for just 2 mana, and it retains the ability to still pay X and turn into something else, and it retains the ability to tap to draw a card and discard a card and keep fueling all of your different mill synergies, your graveyard synergies. It's absolutely nuts. In addition to Souls of the Lost, we are running 1 copy of the Ancient One, and it's sort of like a 5th copy of Souls of the Lost. 2 mana for an 8/8, but it cannot attack or block until you reach 8 permanents in your graveyard. It has that Descend 8. So if you do happen to reach that, you can pay the 2 mana if this is in your graveyard, turn your Likeness Looter into an 8/8 flyer, and just smash in. You can also play this, hardcast it out. You get to Descend 8 really quickly in a deck like this, and you do have a little bit of extra value in being able to pay for, draw a card, discard a card, and then make either yourself mill cards if you want to just fill up your graveyard even more, or if you're super desperate and need to pull out a mill win, sometimes you can mill the opponent as well. But why do we care about this being super big? If having flying wasn't enough to just smash through with a giant flyer and win that way, we can just use fling effects to fling the Souls of the Lost, fling the Likeness Looter. Sometimes we fling the Souls of the Lost to do a ton of damage, and then it's in the graveyard so that Likeness Looter can become a flying copy of it and get through for the rest of the damage. It's really, really crazy. We have 2 different cards that allow us to do this. 3 copies of Voldaren Thrillseeker, which is a 1/1 vampire warrior for 3 mana with backup 2. So when it enters, you're going to get to target a creature, put 2+1/+1 counters on it, and give it all of the abilities of the Thrillseeker until end of turn. And those abilities are pay 1, sacrifice this creature, it deals damage equal to its power to any target. So jam the Thrillseeker, put an extra 2 counters on your Souls of the Lost or your Likeness Looter, and after swinging through, just sacrifice it, do damage to the head, and just win outright that way, which is nuts. And then again, once Souls of the Lost is in the graveyard, you can have Likeness Looter become a copy of it, which is nuts. We also have 3 copies of Callous Sell-Sword, which is kind of the same thing, except it's only going to cost you 1 mana to play the adventure here, Burn Together. You sacrifice your creature, and you deal damage equal to its power to any other target. So 2 different variations, 2 different ways to fling, and some are better in certain circumstances, so I like having access to each one. 3 copies of each seems right. The Thrillseeker is actually a little bit better normally because we also run Alesha, who laughs at fate, 2 copies of this, and so we can keep bringing back the Thrillseeker over and over and over to keep triggering that backup 2, put counters on our huge creature, sacrifice it, and then trigger Alesha the next turn to just bring back our big creature again. So it's like every other turn we can either bring back Souls of the Lost or bring back the Thrillseeker and just keep doing the thing. Just bringing back the Thrillseeker every single turn with Alesha and being able to sacrifice something, even if it's just itself, to use as removal or anything like that, is also really, really nice. So Alesha is super, super good with that, but sometimes we just need to burn them for a ton of damage and win the game for just 1 mana. So there are times where Callous Sell-Sword is the right play. The thing is, we can't get Callous Sell-Sword to trigger its fling effects to use that adventure with something like Alesha. But what we can do is run Overlord of the Balemurk, 4 copies of this. It can come down for 5 mana and be a 5/5 creature, or we can play it for 2 mana, and pending 5, it takes 5 turns for it to become a creature, but when it enters, and whenever it attacks, but more importantly, when it enters, we get to mill 4 cards and then return a non-avatar creature card or planeswalker from our graveyard to our hand. So Overlord's a really good way to get a Callous Sell-Sword out of the graveyard, get it back into our hand, and immediately just use it to win. It's also cool to set up because if we Overlord of the Balemurk on turn 2, it's just sitting there and has this inevitability, and our opponent's contending with our board state every single turn, and then eventually, like turn 6 or whatever it is, the last counter comes off, and if we can get a swing in with Overlord of the Balemurk, then our Callous Sell-Sword is just sitting there in the graveyard, probably ready to snag, and we can get it when we need it because we usually don't need it early, which is really, really nice. So I like the versatility of having both of these cards and having access to whichever one we need depending on the situation. In addition to Alesha, we also have some other really good 3-drops. We're running 2 copies of Kiora, the Rising Tide, which is just absolutely insane in this deck. 3 mana for a 3/2, when it enters, you draw 2, discard 2, so it helps fill up our graveyard for all of our synergies. But then it has Threshold, and we can get to Threshold super easily, just need 7 cards in the graveyard. It doesn't even care about permanence like some of the other cards in the deck does. And when we do get to Threshold, whenever Kiora attacks, you get to create an 8/8 legendary octopus creature token, which is nuts for a couple of different reasons. We can have Likeness Looter pay 3 mana and become a flying version of Kiora if Kiora is in our graveyard, still attack, still trigger the Threshold, except we have flying, so it's much more likely it gets through and doesn't die in combat, which can be absolutely insane. And then that 8/8 octopus could just be flung with a Callous Sell-Sword or a Voldaren Thrillseeker or whatever, because next turn we can just attack with Kiora again, make another one. Just keep making one every turn, keep flinging it. it can be absolutely bananas. Like, sure, we have to have ways to keep getting our fling cards back, but with Alesha and with 4 copies of Balemurk, it's actually a lot easier to do than you might think. Another really cool thing about Kiora is it makes an 8/8 token creature that has no casting cost. So we're also running 2 copies of Mockingbird, and Mockingbird's really good in this deck because it can become another, it's almost like the 5th and 6th copy of the Likeness Looter. It can become another version of Souls of the Lost or the Ancient One, except with flying, like Likeness Looter can, except we're just going to have to pay 2 mana to do it and have to cast it from our hand to copy something on the battlefield in order to do that. But with Kiora the Rising Tide, if we make an 8/8 blue octopus creature token, we could actually have the Mockingbird come back onto the battlefield, either play it for just 1 mana, make a copy of it, or more importantly, we can actually bring the Mockingbird back with Alesha, who laughs at fate, and target the token and become a copy of the token, except now it's flying. So there is a little bit of cool synergy with Mockingbird and Alesha in that way, but most of the time you don't want to bring back Mockingbird with Alesha. Mockingbird's just there to get you the versatility of becoming another flying copy of something really big. Or another cool thing you can do with Mockingbird is you can just play it for 1 mana and become a Gnawing Vermin, and it's almost like your 5th and 6th copy of Gnawing Vermin as well if you manage to also have a Gnawing Vermin. You can mill yourself for 2 more, get yourself to Threshold or Descend or whatever that much more quickly, and then have another creature on the battlefield that's not only flying and has some evasion, but if it dies, you get to, you know, shoot that -1/-1 counter off. So 2 Mockingbirds, 4 Gnawing Vermins is actually really, really awesome. We're also running 4 copies of Harvester of Misery, because this is removal that we can use at instant speed, except when it's in the graveyard it counts as a permanent, which means it's going to turn on your Descend 8 for the Ancient One. It's going to count as an extra buff for Souls of the Lost. It's going to kind of do everything we want to do, which is awesome. We can also just play it as a 5 mana creature, and it's 5/4 menace that wipes the board when it comes into play, so it helps this deck be that much more resilient against aggro, go wide token decks, and all that sort of stuff. Harvester of Misery is absolutely crucial in this deck, and I love it. The last card, well, there's 2 more cards. First of all, we have Invasion of Amonkhet. This card is nuts. When it enters, not only do you make your opponent discard a card and you draw a card, so you get a card advantage swing of 2 cards, but each player mills 3 cards as well, which means you're going to get to Threshold, you're going to get to Descend, you're going to get all the stuff you want in your graveyard, which is awesome. And then you can just attack in and flip this and get 𝐿𝑒𝐿𝑒𝐿𝑒𝐿𝑒𝐿𝑒𝐿𝑒 Convert, which is a 4/4 creature that becomes a copy of any creature in any graveyard. So the Convert can become a copy of the Souls of the Lost, and even though it's a 4/4, it picks up that Fathomless Descent ability and will change its power toughness to not be 4/4. Now, it won't necessarily do that with the Ancient One, but it's still great to target Souls of the Lost. You can also target Likeness Looter, have a 4/4 flyer that keeps all of its abilities that can then change later. You could also target Kiora, have a 4/4 version of Kiora. You could have a 4/4 Thrillseeker. You can do so many cool things. You can have a 4/4 copy of Alesha. You could have a 4/4 copy of Balemurk. Like, pretty much everything in this deck is a good target to hit for Amonkhet, with the exception of maybe the Ancient One and maybe the Callous Sell-Sword. So it's kind of amazing that it does all of the things we want it to do on the front side, and then it's still incredibly valuable on the back side. And again, because we have so many ways to give things flying, to give things evasion in this deck, and to just poop out damage all over the place with Thrillseeker and Sell-Sword, it is super easy to get Amonkhet flipped into Convert and just get even more value on the board, which is gnarly. The last card I want to talk about, we have 4 copies of Push-Pull. This is the only card in the entire deck that isn't a permanent. And I was kind of going back and forth between, should we run this or should we run Carnosaur? Because Carnosaur is another good card we can use as removal while we're curving out, except it counts as a permanent when it's in the graveyard. I decided for now to go with Push-Pull because it is a nice, efficient 2 mana removal spell, destroys any tapped creature. It has to be used at sorcery speed, which is a little bit of a bummer, but in conjunction with our instant speed removal that can't hit bigger stuff like Harvester of Misery, I think push is still a really good other side of the coin to that, to deal with bigger threats that are problematic if they swing in at you. But what's cool about push-pull, and what makes it the removal selection of choice in this deck, I think, in my opinion, is the fact that you can also play the pull side. Sorcery speed, 6 mana, put up to 2 target creature cards from a single graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. They gain haste until end of turn, sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step. The most important part of this card is it doesn't exile those creatures from your graveyard. Some cards that do stuff like this, they like exile the cards afterwards, and you don't actually still have them in your graveyard. With pull, those cards just get sacrificed, go back to your graveyard, and are still there for all of your graveyard synergies, which is amazing. But pull can do some other really cool stuff in this deck. Like, if you pull a Kiora and it swings, it gives you an 8/8 token, and even though you have to sacrifice the Kiora at end of turn, you get to keep the 8/8 token, which is nuts. Same thing with Alesha. If you grab Alesha and you swing, it's going to get the counter. If it doesn't die in combat, you still get the raid ability. You still get to return something straight to the battlefield, like maybe your Souls of the Lost or your Likeness Looter. And then, you know, even though Alesha gets sacrificed at the end of the turn, same thing with Balemurk. Balemurk will come in as the 5/5 attacking. It'll get an enters the battlefield trigger, mill 4, put a creature into your hand, and then also the attack trigger, mill 4 more, put another creature into your hand, which is an insane amount of value. You can also just bring back the Harvester of Misery, nerf your opponent's board, nuke them, and then swing in with Menace. So there's a lot of different versatility to pull, which is why I think it's actually worth running, even though it's not a permanent. It's the only card in the whole deck that's not a permanent, and we probably needed to make room for some interaction removal in the form of instants and sorceries. So I think this is the perfect card just because of the late game value coming from pull. The mana base, very specific. We're using a lot of the Surveil lands because they put things in our graveyard, and then we're taking advantage of using so many Surveil lands by playing as many Verges as we can, both Blazemire Verge and Gloomlake Verge. And then we're running just 1 copy of Restless Vents because it does give us a little bit of versatility, lets us put stuff from our hand into our graveyard if we need it there, while also drawing a card. And then we're running 4 copies of Darkslick Shores because we don't need our red until later in the game. We mostly need our black and blue while curving out, so we want to make sure we have as many black and blue sources that come into play untapped as possible, so we have access to the cards that we want to curve out with early. So anyway, if you want the full rundown of the mana base, that is in the description in the deck list, so check that out. But I'm going to shut up because, dude, these games are so bananas. I love this deck. I can't wait to keep iterating on it. Honestly, it blew my mind. Let's check it out. Let's test this and see if we can actually get there with 1 land. Everything in the deck is actually surprisingly cheap, so I don't think this is going to quite work out, but I still like to test like 1 game like this with every deck, just to see what the deck is capable of. Oh, of course, there goes my lands. That's the worst. Give me a turn 1 Gnawing Vermin and take all my lands. Alright, well, we got a land at least. Gnawing Vermin again. Actual stuff in the yard now. Kiora. We gotta get to land, so we gotta dump it. But I mean, we have Souls of the Lost next turn. We've got removal with Harvester. Honestly, I think we're just going to do this. Wait. Cancel. We're going to attack. Instead of discarding, what we're going to do is sack a permanent, sack the vermin. We still get something in the yard for souls, but we also get to kill his thing. And then afterwards we surveil land in case we want to keep it on top. And we don't. We want to dump it away. I mean, it would be nice to have, but we've got plenty of things to play in the meantime. So just getting another free card in the yard kind of makes sense. Cosmo's Collar. I mean, I think we Amonkhet. And we'll swing at the Amonkhet. Would you like to keep your Zoraline? You would. How cute. What do we want to make a 4/4 of? If we make a Likeness Looter, we can block the Zoraline. That seems pretty good. And then we can just turn it into something else later. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Alright. That's fine. Starscape Cleric. I think I'm gonna let it through. Hello. Would you like to trade with my Kiora? Alright. He's going to gain a lot of life, and we're going to lose some life here. We're going to lose, what, 6, 7, 8, 9? We're going to go to 5. And he's going to go up to 24. I think it's okay, though. I really, really, really want to Thrillseeker, sack the octopus, attack with Kiora, make another octopus. That would be amazing. I think we have to kill the Starscape Cleric just so that we don't die. Which doesn't leave us much wiggle room. Alright. End the turn. As soon as he tries to get a life gain trigger, we're going to respond by killing the Starscape Cleric. So that we don't die. Actually, I probably should have let him attack first so that we could trade. Phyrexian Arena. Down to one card. Down to one card. Alesha. Interesting. Do we have a Mockingbird in there? I really want a Mockingbird in the yard right now. I really, really, really want a Mockingbird in the yard right now. I guess we'll just do it this way. Get him to 4. Phyrexian Arena gets him to 2. And then we can make another one next turn. Essence Channeler gets back what? Goes to 1. Dude. This guy's crazy. This guy is nuts. Captain Insano. Captain Insano over here. Burn together. Get out of here. Get your BK bum up out my lawn. I actually like that guy. You're a good doobie, BK bum. We keep this hand. Let's do the thing. Come on, 𝐀𝐫𝐞𝐧𝐚. I'm waiting for you. That sounds wonderful. That sounds wonderful, Trexo. You're not wrong, Raven. Trex is kind of mean. But Trex is always honest. And I'd prefer that. Come on. What's 𝐀𝐫𝐞𝐧𝐚 up to? We got to give him the shrug. And if that doesn't work, we got to give this man the whistle. This man got the whistle. I don't know what to tell you. Drivnod doubles death triggers. Yeah, that is a good point, Trexo. We need the land, so we're going to keep it. Darkslick Shores. We'll start with Likeness Looter. Raucous Theater. Ancient one. Activate only as a sorcery. Discard. Wait, cancel. Let's do this. We don't need to attack with the Likeness Looter. Well, that makes things trickier. I guess we'll do it like that. Slide Whistle is mandatory. Okay. Very important. Very, very important. Alright. We could turn into a Thrillseeker. That's not really going to help us, though. Not yet, at least. Let's play Kiora. Let's dump Look at all these push and pulls, man. Look at all these push and pulls. We'll pass the turn. I'll trade my Souls of the Lost for the Slasher so that I can turn my Likeness Looter into a Souls of the Lost. Well, that's rude. Come on at me, Slashy. Slashy McSlasherstein.
Something suspicious is going on. And for once, it's not my fault.
You want me to sack a creature? You want me to sack a creature?
Off you go.
Alright. We want to trade with the Slasher, don't we? Balemurk. So many options. I think we just want a Likeness Looter. And we want to play the Likeness Looter. He's going to make us discard the push, which sucks. We could have used it to kill the Slasher. But I think it's better to try to get on board with the Likeness Looter. I am not running Founding the Third Pass. This is a Descend deck, so it is full of permanents.
Drop it.
But it is pretty wild. Yeah, you're not wrong, Trexo. You are not wrong. Then again, out of all the cards in the deck, I think those are the least helpful. So we're gonna go like this. We're gonna kill the Lily. We're gonna draw an actual card.
Oh, that's my cue to leave.
Alright, he's gonna put us at 9, which is gonna suck. But I think we can come back from it. No, 9 isn't dead. 9 is very much alive. What do we want to become? We can become a 17-18 flyer. Or we could become a Kiora. I think for this turn at least, we just want to become the Souls. Pass turn. Pass the turn. We may be able to just win next turn if he doesn't have removal. We just need 2 more cards in the yard. We can get 1 there with Restless Vents. Oh, hey, there we go. Oh, that should be lethal. He has to discard his last card. That's double lethal because we got the Callous Sell-Sword. We could have flipped an Amonkhet, made another one, And then still killed him with Callous Sell-Sword. Crazy. This looks pretty good. We'll keep it. Start with the sewers. Hello, display name. Push, huh? We just need to get closer to land, unfortunately. So we have to dump it. Cult Conscript. I guess we'll just do this. Take the Likeness Looter. Kinda like having a souls in the yard, to be completely honest. So next turn, do we play Gnawing Vermin and Souls? We definitely want to wait to play Alesha. I mean, we don't have the red anyway, but... Alright, coming in with the bat. He's not going to know what the hell to hit. Probably Souls. Or, Likeness Looter just because it flies. Yeah. Alright. So now, if he attacks with the Cult Conscript, we can block with the Vermin and then give the Bat -1/-1. So we really can't attack with anything unless he kills our other Likeness Looter. And then he can attack with just the Bat. Case of the Stash Skeleton, sure. Wow, crazy. Can't believe he did that. I cannot believe he did that. Oh shit. We don't have the red. I just realized we don't have the red. That's wild. Alright, Amonkhet. I guess we play the falls? But at least we have red now? Tiny Bones. I mean, I think we dump the ancient one. Well, Souls makes us discard, so let's get rid of that. We don't have to discard to play the ancient one. That should be good. We want to play Alesha, right? How badly do we want to play Alesha? So we could also just swing for 10. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go 2. And BU. Yes, he probably does. And we'll swing at Amonkhet. And then we'll play a Convert. And we've got options. I actually think the best option is to hit a Deep Cavern Bat. And dump the corpses. And then we'll play another Likeness Looter. Next turn we can play Alesha. But now we can be swinging in and gaining 4 life every turn, which is nuts. We've got a Flying Souls of the Lost. We probably just have lethal next turn. Thrillseeker's in the yard too. Sure. Alright, sewers. One, two. Souls. And we win. Glorious. No red, but we don't need the red yet, so it's fine. We'll start with Undercity Sewers. Hey, thanks, Chunky. Appreciate you. Put a Souls of the Lost in the yard. We'll go Darkslick Shores. Balemurk. Grab a Callous Sell-Sword. 𝐏𝐿𝐴. I could kill it with Harvester. I think I got it. It's a bummer that we missed our land drop, though. Another 𝐏𝐿𝐴. Well, is what it is. Get out of here, 𝐏𝐿𝐴. Elspeth. Thundering Falls. Mockingbird in the yard. Discard a card. Discard. That's a big old blocker. Do you have removal, sir? Nope, just a bunch of youthful Valkyries, apparently. Kiora. Let's dump you. And you. Let's play you. Dump you. Swing for 9. Blocking with the Valkyrie instead of the 1/1? That's interesting. Exercise. That's rude. Take action. We've got an 8/8. We've got a likeness looter. Sick. Well, Now we'll go... Burn together. Take the 8/8, throw it at Archangel. And then we'll play Alesha. And we'll get back the Souls of the Lost. Hi. Hello. Let's get back. I guess Kiora? You're taking it? You out of your mind? You knucklehead. You knucklehead. Let's see, 2 tapped lands. We do have a Gnawing Vermin though. So turn 2 we can play the Gnawing Vermin and the second tapped land. It's actually not the worst thing ever. Everything we have is pretty cheap. I think we're gonna try it. We're also on the draw, so we could find ourselves, yeah, another land. Although we probably play that on 3, to be honest. So that we can play Kiora or Alesha. Yeah. So we will Gnawing Vermin ourselves. And then we'll go Thundering Falls, because why not? Put the Thrillseeker in there. That's 4 permanents already. We could get back the Ancient One or the Gnawing Vermin with Alesha if we wanted to. Well, we already attacked. So even if he kills it now, Alesha gets its trigger. And as much as I want to get Kiora out first, I think being able to capitalize off the trigger is probably important. Although, he was thinking about removal, wasn't he? I'm almost positive he's got removal lined up for whatever we play. Jesus. We'll do that. That's 6 cards in the yard for Kiora. Guess maybe he didn't have removal lined up, huh? See if we can get a permanent in the yard. Actually, it can be anything, right, for Kiora? Hi, give me an 8/8. Oh my god, he scoops. We will keep this. We're going to start with the Blazemire Verge because we have 2 Gnawing Vermins. So we can just play those first. Ellis Ilkor. A 3rd Gnawing Vermin. Crazy. Milling all our lands away, though. It's not good. It's not good. Amalia. Alright, we're gonna play you. Sack a permanent. Sack a Gnawing Vermin. Kill the Ruin Lurker Bat. Then we're gonna Undercity Sewers. I think we need the push. We'll keep it. No attacks. We need to push Amalia, I think. I don't know if she'll try to swing, but... Shieldred. We could also just... burn together... sack the Vermin, kill the Ellis. I think Shieldred needs to die, though. I think Shieldred needs to die. Do you think Shieldred needs to die? No tax. Just get a Sell-Sword out there to buy us some time as a blocker. Waste a Virtue of Persistence. That feels good too. If he swings, we're pushing, baby. No blocks. We are pushing. Gnawing Vermin. More milling. Alright, we're pretty set up now. We are pretty set up. We need to Balemurk to find a likeness looter. Oh, another Amalia. It's kind of a bummer. And an Essence Channeler. What do we want to get back? So many options. So many options. I think Alesha. And we'll put another one in the yard. No attacks. Just hold up our Gnawing Vermins as blockers. Everything will be fine. Alright. Tenacity is going to be a problem. Tenacity is going to be a problem. Really? Actually, kind of should have got rid of the 𝐿𝑆 𝐿 core, I think. That's okay, though. We'll make it work. Three. I guess we grab souls. Grab the souls. Let's just grab the souls where they deserve to be grabbed. Right in the soul patch. Sheoldred. That's rude. We go to 6. Man, this is actually so close. It's not close enough, but it's actually so close. Yeah, they got lethal right now. But he's second guessing it. That's interesting. Why did he do that? That's so weird. Five. You have to block it with Amalia? Like, there's stuff we can do, it's just not enough stuff. Unfortunately. Full control. Full control. We get back. I want to get back an Alesha. I don't think that's right, though. We'll get back a Souls. Wait, what? I couldn't... The whole reason I hit full control is because I wanted to trigger the Alesha ability, and then with it on the stack, sacrifice Alesha to the Thrillseeker ability. But it wouldn't let me do that. That doesn't make any sense! He would have just attacked with a fortress anyway, and I would have been dead. But that's really frustrating. I don't know why that happened. That's really, really weird. Like, I specifically went full control. Not the greatest hand, but it's not bad enough to put back, so just gotta try to make it work. We'll try to surveil into something decent with the sewers here. A land? No. We'll keep the land. 𝐀𝐫𝐞𝐧𝐚. 𝐀𝐫𝐞𝐧𝐚, I barely knew her. I want to copy his 𝐀𝐫𝐞𝐧𝐚. Flying 𝐀𝐫𝐞𝐧𝐚. Oh, baby, baby. We want that. I think we push 𝐻𝐿𝐴. So long, and thanks for all the fish. Rona. This is kind of like a something. Definitely something. Don't have anything to get back. Let's try this. I guess we want to do this. Dump you. Dump you. End the turn. It's 5, so Kiora's probably attacking and getting the trigger next turn. Probably. Flesh Gorger, sure. Draw, discard. Don't really have what we want in the yard, do we? We don't really need that anymore. Don't really have anything good to bring back yet. Black. Alright, let's do this. 𝐀𝐫𝐞𝐧𝐚. Let's do some melee. Milli Vanilli. Oh, now Billy. Billy, won't you lose that number? 'Cause you're not anywhere that I couldn't find you. Alright, he's up to 21. We'll end the turn. We can get Kiora back next turn with Alesha. Well, it'll take 2 turns, right? We need to make Alesha bigger. Although flipping an Amonkhet and copying an Alesha seems really good. I like that. I like that. Rona is drawing and discarding. Virtue of persistence, that's rude. Super rude. Did we win yet? Very, very close. Very, very close to winning here. We want to get Souls of the Lost into the graveyard. Can we do that? Ancient One, Overlord. All of that feels fine. Alright, we're going to discard a card. We're going to discard Alesha. We're going to attack and flip the Amonkhet. And then we're going to make a copy of Alesha. And then we're going to get back Kiora. And then we're going to discard Kiora and Souls. Now we pretty much just win next turn. What would we copy? If we copy a Souls of the Lost with the convert, will it copy the power toughness text? Thanks so much for checking out my channel. I'd like to give a huge shout out to all of my patrons over at Patreon. Without you guys, this channel would not be possible, so honestly, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of your contributions. If you haven't yet, like and subscribe. The more likes we get and the quicker we get them, the bigger this channel will grow and the faster it will grow. I'd love nothing more than this channel to become something very special for you guys, but it's entirely up to you how fast that happens. Also, if you'd like more deck text, that's somewhere over there. And if you'd like to see what else the channel's been up to lately, that's somewhere up that way. Also, subscribe, circle below, do all the things.